These are both plywood, so why can one sheet cost twice as much as another? And more importantly, is the expensive one actually going to make your project any better? This one might be a little obvious. The answer starts right here. Plywood is made from thin layers of wood called plies that are glued together. And if you look closely, you'll see that the grain direction normally changes from one layer to the next. One of the plies' grain direction goes this way, and then the other goes across it, and then the next switches back again. That alternating grain direction helps make plywood much more stable than a wide piece of solid wood. Instead of all the wood wanting to expand and contract in the same direction, the layers help stabilize each other, and that's one of the big advantages of plywood. It gives you a large, relatively stable panel without having to glue up a bunch of solid boards. But look how different these are. Same basic idea, very different construction. Some of them have a few thick plies, while some have more thinner plies. Some of them have a more consistent looking core, while others may not. So does more plies mean it's better plywood? No, at least not by itself. The wood used in those plies, their thickness, the orientation, the quality of the veneers, the adhesives, and overall construction all matter. But that said, I would absolutely look at the edge before buying a sheet. For example, look at this. There's actually a gap between the veneers. That's called a void. Now, compare that to this one. The core is much more consistent, and depending on what I'm building, that might matter. If I'm cutting dados or rabbets in a plywood or putting fasteners into it, I'd rather have a nice consistent core than randomly find a hollow spot where I need material. Core defects can also create weak spots and make the plywood less consistent to work with. But I don't think that means that you can't use a sheet of plywood that has a little void. If I'm building basic shop storage or some garage shelves, do I really need to spend twice as much just so the inside of the wood is perfect? Probably not. As long as I'm using plywood that's appropriate for what I'm building, there are plenty of projects where that extra money just isn't worth spending. And that's really the theme here. I'm not trying to find the best plywood, I'm trying to figure out which plywood makes sense for what I'm building. Sometimes the core is really important, and other times, this is what I'm paying for. This outer layer is the face veneer, and the thickness, quality, and species can vary greatly. This one's pretty rough, obviously. It's got huge knots in it. This one has been patched, and this one has a nice clean wood face that I actually want people to see. So, which one's better? It's not as obvious as you think. If I'm building a nice cabinet or a piece of furniture and putting stain on it, I'm going to care a lot about this face. I'm not looking at the grain necessarily, but I am looking for patches, I'm looking for splits, scratches, and other defects. And I'm definitely looking at both sides of the sheet. Here's a good example. Check out this nice piece of plywood. Less nice, because they aren't necessarily the same quality. On some plywood, especially regular pine plywood, you'll see letter grades like A, B, C, and D. You don't really need to memorize this. It's pretty self-explanatory, but A is basically the nicest grade. And as you move down, B, C, and D, more knots start to appear and repairs, defects, that sort of thing. So if you see something like AC plywood, that means it has an A on one face and a C on the other. And that makes a lot of sense when you actually think how you're going to use the plywood. Maybe one side of my project is going to be visible and the other isn't. Why would I pay for two perfect looking faces when I'm only ever going to see one? However, if I'm painting this, I'm looking at things a little bit differently. I still want a nice smooth surface without a bunch of defects I'm going to have to fix. But I don't need to pay extra for beautiful wood grain that I'm just going to cover up. So when you're comparing two sheets and one costs $20 or $30 more because it has a nicer looking face, ask yourself, am I even going to see it? Did I just save you 20 bucks? Popcorn's on me at the next movie. When you buy something with this nicer veneer, it's usually very thin, so you got to be very careful when sanding. That's it. On a lot of hardwood plywood, the nice wood you see on the outside is just a thin decorative veneer over the core. So let's see what happens when I treat this like a piece of solid wood. Honestly, I expected that to go a little bit differently. This is hard maple plywood and the veneer is pretty thin, but it is hard. And I tried my best to sand through this. And it was really difficult. Like, I'd have to really mess up. I have sanded through this before, but it's actually pretty durable. So I peeled up a little section right here so you can actually see how thin that veneer is. You can sand through that pretty easily if you're not careful. In this case, it was actually hard, but if you have a high spot or something you're trying to bring down, that doesn't usually work out very well with plywood like this. So I failed to show you exactly how easy it can be to sand through the veneer when it's thin, but I promise you it does happen. But once you do sand through that veneer, there's really no good way to fix it. However, if you're priming and painting something, sometimes you can get away with it. And when you do get through that veneer, it's not solid hardwood underneath. So it's definitely going to look different if you try to stain it. So when I am sanding hardwood, I am definitely a lot more careful than I would be with solid wood. And this is just something I think about when I'm actually buying it. So if you're buying a nice expensive sheet of hardwood plywood like this and you see a big scratch in the veneer, don't expect that you can just sand it out because the veneer might not be thick enough. And real quick, if you're learning something here, please consider subscribing. It really helps out my channel. I'm still learning on this stuff too, so I like to learn with you guys. And whenever I run into something in woodworking that's confusing, I like doing some research and then sharing what I learned. Here's another thing that's really easy to overlook. Actually look at the entire sheet before buying. Is it flat? Is it bowed? Is it twisted? Are the corners beat up? Are there any layers starting to separate? Flip it over and check the other side too. Plywood is generally more dimensionally stable than solid wood, but that does not mean that every sheet sitting in the store is going to be perfectly flat. And if there's 5 sheets in a stack, I'm taking the best one. I'm not going to spend good money on that potato chip sitting on the top just because it's easy to grab. You hate to haul that big piece of wood home just to be disappointed. There's an inappropriate joke in there somewhere. Now let's talk about some of the names you're actually going to see at the store. You might see something called sheathing plywood. Sheathing plywood is generally for construction, things like roofs and subfloors. It's not trying to be furniture plywood, so a rougher looking face, defects aren't necessarily a sign that something is wrong with it. Appearance just isn't the priority. And for the right project, that's exactly why it can save you money. For example, this side isn't very good. But if this is my subfloor, I'd be very happy with that. And then you'll see something called sanded plywood. And it's pretty much exactly what it sounds like. The faces have been sanded down, so it makes a lot more sense when you have a project where the surface is actually going to matter. Then there's hardwood plywood. This is where you get those decorative wood faces like birch, maple, oak, and others, even walnut. But the important thing to understand is that this doesn't mean that the entire sheet is made of hardwood. And that might be obvious. That nice wood is only a very thin veneer on the outside. And the core can be made a few different ways. It might possibly be veneers like this. It can also be MDF, particle board, and even a combination of materials, which is usually what it is. And those different cores have different characteristics. Plywood with actual wood veneer layers is generally lighter and gives you good strength and fastener holding. MDF and particle board cores are heavier, but they can provide a very flat, consistent surface underneath a veneer. But most plywood uses some sort of combination to try to take advantage of both. So 2 sheets can look pretty darn similar on the outside, but be very different on the inside. There's one other label you might run into that I think is worth understanding, especially if there's any chance your project is going to get wet. You may see plywood marked Exposure 1. If you haven't heard that term, that's fine. What it really means is that the panel is made to handle some wet exposure, but it's not necessarily intended to stay exposed to the weather permanently. Think about a house being built. The roof or subfloor might get rained on as the house is being built before it's completely finished. Exposure 1 plywood is designed to handle temporary exposure like that before it's eventually protected. But there is another type called exterior plywood, and that one is different. For situations where the plywood may be exposed to weather or moisture long term. So if I'm building something that's actually going to stay outside, I'm looking for exterior, not just exposure 1. And here's something I found interesting when I was researching this. You might assume the difference is simply that exterior plywood uses waterproof glue and exposure 1 doesn't. That's actually not the case. Both use the exact same waterproof glue. But exterior plywood uses premium knot-free wood layers, while exposure 1 uses cheaper, rougher inner layers that are only meant to survive a few weeks of bad weather during building. So exterior for long-term exposure to weather, exposure 1 for temporary exposure. That's all most of us need to know. And if you've ever been around construction, you may have heard the term CDX. It's basically a common trade name that you'll hear for C through D grade exposure 1 plywood sheathing. The important thing is not to see that the X assumes it means exterior. It seems like it would, but it doesn't. If you actually need a panel that is going to get wet long term, look for exterior on the wood or on the label. So say I'm standing in the plywood aisle looking at all this stuff. Here's how to actually choose what I need. If I'm building garage shelves or basic shop storage, I need something that's appropriate for the load, reasonably flat and structurally sound. I don't care if there's some patches or some knots. Do I need a beautiful face veneer? No, definitely not. This is where I can probably save some money. Painted cabinet? Then I'm gonna want a smoother, cleaner face, but I still don't need to pay extra for beautiful grain because I'm about to cover it with paint. What if I'm working on a stained piece of furniture? That's a completely different story. Now I'm looking closely at the face. I'm looking at the grain, the color, patches, scratches, repairs, because this is going to be part of my finished project. And I'm remembering that this pretty wood on the surface might be really thin. So I want to start with a sheet that doesn't need a bunch of sanding to make it look good. And if I'm doing some fancy joinery or I'm using fasteners, I'm going to pay more attention to what's going on inside the sheet too. And if my project's going to be exposed to weather, I'm checking the actual rating of the plywood instead of just assuming it'll be fine outside just because it's plywood. I don't really think that there's one best plywood. This might be the best plywood for one project, and this might be the right plywood for another. Buying expensive plywood for everything doesn't necessarily make the project any better. Sometimes you're just paying for features that the project doesn't need. But if you're looking for a better, more consistent panel or you want a nice finish, buying a cheaper sheet can really burn you. The trick is knowing what you're actually paying for. Some of you have been working with plywood a lot longer than I have, so I'm really curious what you guys do. When do you spend the extra money and for what features, and when do you go with the cheap stuff? Please drop it in the comments. All plywood is not created equal, but you also don't need to buy the expensive stuff all the time either. You just need to know what features in the plywood actually matter for what you're building. Thanks so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. What kind of a weirdo makes an entire video about plywood? It's hot in here. You may see plywood marked exposure 1. If you've never heard of that term, that's fine. At one point, I had not either.